So, a quick note on who's hosting you. If you don't know, DMI has 37 years of excellence as a national IMO, and we're built on one simple promise, and that is we help serious financial professionals grow with real strategy, real support, and real execution. But today it's a little different than a typical webinar. This is a working session. So you're not here to just passively listen. You're here to build, right? And the tool we're going to use is the bullet point business plan. It's a simple, practical framework designed to cut the noise, clarify priorities, and then turn ideas into calendar ready action. And if you want that page, it was sent to you in a few emails previous to this. And also, it is currently in the chat. I believe our very own Maureen Walker put that up in the chat. You can click on that and have access to it. Um, so use that. And then also to get the most out of this webinar today, or let's say working session, please use the Q&A. Please use the chat. So we want the Q&A to field questions, but then the chat to get your responses and reactions to things. So I'm very excited to introduce Kari Gillenwater. She is the owner of Gillenwater Consulting Group, strategic, authentic, and unshakably advisor first. Kari brings 2 decades of experience guiding advisors through real growth, not just goal setting. She's led 50 plus elite study groups, consulted with 200 plus firms, and facilitated thousands of Colby assessments to strengthen teams and drive performance. Her coaching is built on clarity, accountability, and bold execution, tailored to the real world challenges advisors face. And then joining me as our DMI co-host is also Tyrell Jensen. And Tyrell, he's really excellent at understanding business practice management realities that advisors face, the exact kinds of levers we're going to be working through today. And he's going to share a few words on why Kari's work is so impactful before we dive in. So Tyrell, if you don't mind, maybe you could kick us off a little bit.
I appreciate that, Glenn. Yes. So first, I just want to say I kind of nerd out on this stuff, and I'll explain why I do. So it's kind of, 'cause how could you nerd out on this? Well, the reason I do nerd out is because uh, most of you probably don't know, but my family has been in the financial planning industry. My dad started back in the late 80s, and he grew a family practice. So it was my dad and my two older brothers, and I joined on in the early 2000s, and they had a good practice already going. But in about 2002, we had the opportunity to work with a business planning coach, and we did a lot of one-on-one work with them. And I watched that process that we went through. I was brand new into the family practice at that point, and I was able to kind of hands-on be there and kind of be a part of that process. And I watched how the creating a business plan and implementing that business plan and then continually following up with it year over year, what a massive impact it had on our family practice. We went from being a good practice to being phenomenal. I mean, we had and watched our growth just increase exponentially over the course of just a handful of years, where it had taken Dad, decade plus to grow where we were. In about 3-ish years, we quadrupled our business. And it was amazing to watch that. And so for me, I see how impactful a business plan and going through it and implementing that can really be on your practice. So I'm really excited to have Kari here. I think something that can be very helpful for you. And if you have questions afterwards, want to talk a little bit, through your business plan, how to be able to get in contact with Kari, or want to talk about how DMI can help you, feel free to reach out to me. I have my QR code right here. You can scan that, get my contact information. Or if you have a VP of sales that you work with here at DMI, reach out to them. But if you don't and want to get information about it, feel free to reach out to me. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn over to Kari and let her do her magic.
Thank you, Tyrell, and thanks to DMI University for having me today. I'm really excited to be here. And I know talking about business plans is not everybody's favorite thing, but I'm going to show you why it's important, and I'm going to try to make it easier for you too. So just real quick, I wanted to let you guys know I work with advisors, thousands of advisors over the last 23 years, and I learned a lot of things. And so I coach on what I call the 8 pillars of optimizing your practice. And that includes people, processes, positioning. How do you talk about your business? How are you positioning with your clients? Your pipeline, the different markets that you're in, the producers, as well as prospecting. How do you find your clients? And then performance, which is really mindset and being a leader, and then also your plan. And so today we're going to focus on the plan, but the plan kind of touches all 8 of these. But this is kind of the practice management array that I work on. But today specifically, we're going to be talking about the business plan. Glenn, if you would take that down, that would be great. Today, first, I do have a poll question, and I wanted to ask how many of you have done a business plan in the past 3 years? Okay, so, and I know a lot of people start business plans, don't finish them, or they spend all this money doing a business plan and then it gets in a drawer and gets dusty and they don't use it during the year and they just take it out and go, wow, did we get close? So understanding that is key. I'm looking at the poll numbers. So we've got about 25% said yes and 45% no, and then 30% started not but didn't get finished. Well, that is really common, and that's why a lot of people don't do business plans. They're kind of not fun. They take time. You have to stop doing business to think about it. But what I want to share with you is through my years of working with advisors, and let's be honest, some of them are ADHD, it really does help to kind of simplify the process. And that's why I created the bullet point business plan. Instead of a 70-page document, it's about 4 or 5 pages. Let's see, share the results here. Here we go. Sorry, let's look at the so another thing, what I'd like to do is it really helps me if you guys can talk to me in the chat. It helps me understand if what I'm saying is resonating, if anything. So what I'd love to know is give me one word in the chat and keep it PG now. One word in the chat to describe how you feel when doing a business plan. So if you can just take a minute and get raising a hand. Not sure, Maureen, if you want to help with that.
So, Kari, there was a little something going on with your mic, I think. So we just want to be cognizant of that. It was a little glitchy for a minute.
No, okay. Can you hear me?
And you just seem very soft right now.
Okay.
Oh, much better.
I can speak up, not a problem. Thank you for letting me know. I have never been told I was quiet. Thank you.
So we do have a question. How do you distinguish between pipeline and prospects?
Pipeline and prospects. Well, a pipeline could be, are you in kind of the construction world, right? Or do you work with business owners? Or do you work with highly affluent, individuals? That's, to me, it's kind of like the pipeline. It's kind of the markets that you're in as well. Versus the other one was, what was the other? Sorry, it was pipeline versus
Prospects.
Prospects. So prospects
Sorry.
are anyone that you're calling on, okay? And so a prospect can be a new client. It doesn't have to come from a certain vertical. It's just a new prospect, okay? And it's how do you go find new prospects? And it might be how do you go find new pipelines, new verticals? And so that's kind of the differentiation there. Is a pipeline is kind of a market or a niche, okay? And then how you prospect can be global, all right? And so that's just the little difference there.
And Kari, I'm gonna work on the chat. I know I re-enabled it, but people are having problems with it. So you can feel free to drop them in any comments into the Q&A, and we'll all be able to see it there and we'll be able to go over it.
Okay, there. It says it's working. Yay. Okay. Awesome. Don't you love technology?
Oh,
All right. Well, let's jump into this today. So if you've got the bullet point business plan in front of you, the first part is the executive summary. Okay. And this is really important. It gives you kind of the current state of affairs. It's where are you right now? Okay. And so really taking a look at accomplishments. If you reflect back on 2025, what worked? What worked well? What do we want to repeat? Okay. And then what were the obstacles or bottlenecks, the challenges that you faced? Was it people? Was it capacity? Was it processes? Again, any of those 8 might be one of them, or some of them might be challenges. And so understanding that is key. And so from all of those, what did we learn? What did we learn? That we really like to do this, or maybe we're really good at talking to groups, or maybe we found out that CPAs are really not a COI for us. It's not working. And so we have to think about these things again, what is working, what is not. And then it's called the future state sentence, and 2 sentence summary of where you want your business to be by end of year. Okay. And understanding that, it's kind of like if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to know when you get there? So it's really intentional to be clear about what do you want to happen this year. And most people just go, oh, well, I want to do more money. I want to make more revenue. Okay, well, that's part of it always. But what else is it? Do you want to build your team? Do you want to move into new markets? Do you want to elevate the net worth of the clients that you work with? These are all things that, you want to think about. And this can be really helpful in understanding what your annual goals are. Again, most everyone goes, oh, my goal is to do 2 million this year or whatever it is. Okay, that's a revenue goal. What are the other goals? What do you want to build? What do you want to create? And who do you want to connect with? And that's really important to understand. And so getting those goals, everything kind of centers around those goals. And those can become kind of a litmus test. If I'm going to focus my energy on it, does it help one of my goals? And so what I would encourage you to do is work with your VP of sales to really get clear on what are your goals and what do you need to do to get them, and then kind of measure them. I mean, it's great to set a goal, but if you never look at it again, do you know you're getting close? And so this is why we do this business plan, this bullet point business plan. All it does is highlight the really key important things that we want to keep mindful and be intentional about creating. And so again, it's also important not only to do professional goals, a personal goal. Maybe you want to run a marathon, maybe you want to learn Spanish, whatever it is. Also, that can be part of your goal too, because you're not just your business. You are, a full person, the whole advisor. So one of the as you go in, so let's see, that was page 1. On page 2, you're going to be looking at who is your ideal client. Understanding this is really key. And remember, your ideal client of today may not be the ideal client when you started. And so it's important to take a look at that every year. Maybe before you had a bottom line, number that now you've raised it. Maybe your minimum client is much higher now. We have to be really clear about that. Who are the ideal clients for you? And again, if you do AUM or insurance or annuities, they might be different for each one. You may have several different ideal client profiles, and understanding that is really key, because that's what you're going to build this plan around, is how do you go and help those people? And so another part that I really want to get clear on is, we all know you sell something, right? And so it's either assets under management, wealth management services, or it's insurance, annuities, whatever it is. You serve your clients in a way by offering something. And a lot of us say things like comprehensive planning with tax efficient portfolio design and things like that. But really, no one wakes up saying, gosh, if I could just get some portfolio design today sold to me, that would be great. Instead, they're saying to themselves, I've got problems that I need solved. And so what I always like to reframe for advisors is, what problems do you solve that your products fix? And if you can speak to those terms and get really good about being clear about the problems that you solve, is it retirement planning? Is it tax problems? These are all the things. If you can get real clear about the problems you solve, then you can get real clear on how to understand what your clients need, and then they're going to be more receptive to that. So understanding, not only in your marketing materials what you sell, but what problems do you solve? And the reason one of those is because it really helps you position to your COIs. Okay, so COIs we call centers of influence. These are people that refer you business. It could be a CPA, it could be a estate planning attorney, tax attorney, it could be another wealth manager, depending on your practice. And so understanding also who are your ideal COIs. And that's what we want to make sure we understand. And so being very intentional about that. Let's look at the past 3 years. We're going to do a poll. How many referrals did you get from COIs last year? I'd like to have everyone just kind of tell me, like, how successful were you in actually getting referrals from COIs? Okay. Okay, so the bit over half is like maybe 3 or 4. Okay, and how many of you, I think we'd all agree, like we would love it to be more than 3 or 4. For those that did, 11 to 20, I bet they have a process and I bet they have a plan. And so that's why this is so important, is understanding, who are my COIs and how do I classify a COI? And a COI needs to be able to give you business. And so a lot of people go, oh, I have 20 or 30 COIs. And I'm like, really? How many of them referred you business last year? Oh, well, none of them. Well, then they're not really COIs. And that's what I'd much rather you focus on 3 to 5 and treat them as almost like you've got a faucet and you can turn it on. And understanding and helping those COIs understand what problems you solve makes it much easier for them to refer you. And so understanding that. So again, we've got about 59% that had up like 5 or fewer referrals. And so obviously we would like to do that. There was about 18% for 5 to 10 and then 18% for 11 to 20. And a couple lucky people had really people had 21 and over. So that's awesome. So thanks for sharing that with me. So another thing that I'd like to do is how often in the chat, or I guess this is a poll, sorry. How often do you ask for referrals? Okay, so is it part of your everyday? Does it just come naturally to you, or you're not comfortable with it, you don't do it much, or never, you hate it? I hate asking for referrals. And so I find that this is very common, that a lot of people are like, yeah, I know I should, but I don't. And so understanding how to get referrals and being able to ask for that business, this understanding what problems you solve really helps you do that. When you talk about the problems you solve, not the products that you sell, it doesn't feel so salesy and it can really open doors. And so just understanding that is key too. So again, as you're going through, understanding who your ideal clients are, who are your ideal COIs, because this is going to set us up for page 3. Okay, so the clients that we're working with, okay. I'm looking at the poll numbers. It looks like about a third. Let's see. A third say it's part of their everyday process, and then about 47, almost half say they're not comfortable asking, they don't do it enough. And I find that that is very, very normal. And here's the deal. If it's not part of your process, it's not going to happen. And so this is why we do a business plan. Because then we want to add asking for referrals. How do we do that? Let's be intentional. Let's build it into our everyday process. Let's build it into our client discussions and our discovery. No one is going to be surprised that you're trying to build your business. It's not a surprise. And so you can say one of the ways we get paid is by referrals. And I love working with clients like you. And if you have anyone else who has a similar problem that we've just solved, I'd love for, the chance to work with them. So these are, again, understanding the problems you solve help you really position yourself with COIs and with current clients as well. And this is where the most important part is the client segmentation. Okay. And so this is a really big part. We find, you guys all have heard the 80-20 rule. 80% of our clients come from 80% of our business comes from 20% of our clients. And that's really important to know, because if we give all of our clients the same attention, that is not going to, we're going to run out of resources and services. And so if you look here, audience segmentation, I'd like to know, do you have defined categories for your clients? So some of you may have very detailed segmentation. Some of you have segmented, but it's been a couple years. And then also, some people are like, yeah, I kind of get it, but I don't really have it officially done. I can tell you right now, understanding your client segmentation can be one of the biggest ways to drive value for your practice. And if you ever want to sell your practice, you need to know and have your clients segmented, and you need to have them really dialed in CRM, because that is a huge valuation indicator for your practice. And so knowing that can really help you focus. Again, where our focus goes, our energy goes, and where our energy goes, our power goes. And so we want to be real clear about who is our top 20%. They need to get most of our attention. They need to get more services. They need to get more love, because they're going to probably be one of the best sources for referrals from us and ancillary business and cross-selling. One of the things I hear all the time is, I just need to get in front of more clients. I just need more clients to call on. And I'm going to push back on that, because you have an amazing pot of gold. You already have an orchard full of apples, which is your current client base. And so what is your plan to constantly be going back to your clients and saying, hey, did you know that we do this and this? And, don't forget we do this. Most of the time, clients only know you for the one thing that they came to you for. They don't know that you offer a lot of different services. So part of your plan is understanding how to let people know what you do and understanding what each segmentation, A, B's, or C's, or gold, platinum, silver, whatever you do, however you define what they are, we also have to be very careful about what services they get. A C should not be getting the same amount of time, resources, and energy that an A should be. And so we really have to be careful about that, because another statistic shows that 20%, like 80% of your problems come from the lower 20%. And so we really have to be mindful of our staff and our team and where we're putting our energy if we want to build our business. And so let's see. It looks here like about over half said we haven't officially segmented, but I have a good idea of my top clients. Okay, so I think it would be Maureen.
Ooh, quick question while we're talking about CRM and segmentation.
Yeah.
Are you using a CRM created specifically for your practice? And is there a specific agent-facing CRM that you recommend?
There are so many CRMs, and it really, I think it kind of depends. I think there's a lot of people that use Salesforce. There's probably, I could probably name 100 different ones, but probably the biggest ones are Salesforce. And it really depends, understanding and knowing what reports you want to pull out is really important. And so no matter what your CRM is, it needs to be the one source of truth for your practice. And if people aren't using it, this is a whole nother webinar, but if people aren't using the CRM, or only one or two people are using the CRM, it can be really difficult, because then you don't have all the information every time you go for the reviews. There is no tracking. And so CRM is a very important part of the classification too, because in your CRM, you should be tagging them. Are they an ABC? Are they a gold, silver, platinum, whatever it is? And then you can create tasks to help with the follow-up, whether it's, are you going to do, for A clients, they should get every quarter reviews, invitations to events, newsletters, personalized birthday gifts, anything like that. This is your A's. Whereas a C client might just get the newsletter and a maybe a statement every 6 months, and digital updates, meaning an email saying, happy birthday, something like that. So again, really being clear on who you have in your book and how are they segmented, so you can show attention to them appropriate to the nature of how they can help you build your business. Obviously, we want all of our clients to have a great experience, but we also understand that our A clients have more money, have more needs. We want to make sure that our C clients are not driving our service needs. And that's why it's so important. And again, if you're looking to sell your practice, having a clear segmentation is very attractive for a buyer. And that's why you would want to do it. And so hopefully that is helpful for you guys. Another thing also is, remember, the easiest client to get is the one you already have. I feel like a lot of advisors always ask me, I want to get new clients. And I'm like, how are you harvesting from your current book? Think about it this way. It's like walking through an apple orchard with an apple seed that you want to plant to go get a new client when you've already got apples all around you. So make sure that harvesting from your book is part of your plan. It's not always about new. And it is about, one of the best ways to get new clients is to ask for referrals from your current clients. And that needs to be part of your business plan. How do you do that? Is it built into your process? Do your other producers and your team member, do they all know to do that? And so it's really key. This is one question I would like to know. Do you get more service requests from your A clients or your lower rating clients? I find most of the time it is the majority of service requests come from the lower clients. And so we have to build a way to handle that so that, again, it doesn't suck our resources and time, so that we can be focused on our ideal clients, which are our A and sometimes our B clients too. And again, an A client doesn't always mean they have the most revenue. It may mean that they gave you 5 clients. And guess what? they're a COI. If someone has referred you 2, 3 clients, they're a COI, even if they're not a CPA or an estate planning attorney. So how are you going to handle that? What are you going to do to nurture that? This is really key. And so just understanding that, where we put our time and focus, that's where our energy goes and our resources go. So it's really important because we want to be intentional about where we're doing that. So the next part is page 4. Next, this is your sales strategy. Okay. And this is, let's see. For your sales strategy, if your process, I always ask someone, do you know what your client journey is? Do you have a consistent client journey? And they're like, what's a client journey? I'm like, this means what happens from A to Z when when they walk through the door? How are they greeted? Once they are a client, how do they get service? Who are they talking to? Who are the contacts? Who owns that? Who owns that client journey all the way through from opening a case and discovery to case design, whatever you're doing for them, delivering the service? How do we follow up after? And then how do we take that relationship to the next level so it's not just a transactional relationship? Do we invite them to events? Do we take them to lunch? Whatever it is. And so understanding we have to have a repeatable process for this. Why? Because if you can't teach it to someone, you can't scale. If every time is a one-off, different, everything has to be done custom and we're making it up for the very first time, then it's not scalable. And so again, as you grow your practice and as you put your resources in, we wanted to have something that here is our process. If a new employee comes on, it's very clear what we need to do. It's also very clear about who owns what. And so being very clear and intentional about your client journey and what is your sales strategy. So a lot of people, they're like, well, how do I get new clients? Well, policy reviews or portfolio reviews are one of the best way to do this. It's because it gets you in front of the client, gets you understanding and hearing things, doing discovery. That is something that if it's not part of your process, it should be, because it will drive business. Activity begets activity. Getting in front of that client also helps ensure that it's sticky, that they stay with you. Also, referral systems, building referral systems, whether it's clients or COIs or networking opportunities. If you have organizations that you network through, these are very important to be systematic about it and choose a couple instead of 50. That's great to say you're involved with 72 different organizations, but if you want to make an impact, it might be more strategic if you really focus and go deep with just a few. Same thing with COIs. I'd much rather have 3 COIs that are actually referring me business than to say I have 20 COIs that aren't referring me business. And so again, taking a look, how are you getting clients? Is it webinars for business owners? Are you doing a breakfast for high net worth individuals and doing a book club? There's so many different ideas out there, but you have to plan them. They take time, they take money and resources. And so again, taking a look at your year, where are the lulls? If you normally have a lull in June, then guess what? April, May, we need to ramp up so we don't have that lull. That's another thing that a business plan can do and your VP of sales can do is help you look at, okay, for the last 3 years, what has been your pattern? Really, where are the slow times? Where are the busy times? It may be the same, it may not, but we can look for patterns so that we can prepare and kind of like lull proof your business. And so really understanding where the lulls and the ebbs are, it also might be that it gets really busy every September. So we need to staff up for that so that we can have a great client experience. And so just understanding these things, again, this is why it's so important to do a business plan, even if it's just a bullet point business plan. Next thing I want to talk about is measuring things. Why are we measuring things? Well, that's kind of what a business plan does. It says, here's what we're trying to do. Have we done it? Where are we? What's going well? What's not going well? And it really gives us kind of it gives us kind of like a map to follow, and it also gives us guardrails. And so one of the things I'd like to ask in the chat is, besides revenue, what is one thing that you measure every month? Besides revenue, because everyone's going to know revenue. They're all going to know their numbers. But what else in the chat? I'd like to see if you can. Let's see. Not sure if it's working or not. But this is something we understand that there's so many other things to measure besides revenue. Okay. It's like how many calls were made? How many hours are you spending direct client revenue generating time? How many hours a day? If it's fewer than 4, it's hard to grow your business. Okay, so quotes, calls, closes, and requotes are things that that charity measures. New clients, prospects added, and activities. Okay, great. So that gives us line of sight of what's working and are we where we want to be. So if we keep a good measure of our calls to conversions and all of this, we can figure out what is our closing ratio. If I know it takes 20 calls to get 10 people to talk to me, and then I get 5 meetings from those that will probably turn into 3 conversions into business, then I know what I have to do. And it helps me understand what I have to manage. And so getting really clear on those numbers can be very insightful and help you build your business. One of the things, if you call on 20 and you get 10 appointments, but you only close 1, then we need to look at the closing process, or we need to look, are these ideal fit clients? This is when we get curious. This is what these numbers are. It's not to punish you. It's not to judge you. It's to say, let's get curious. What's not working? Something needs to be adjusted here. Again, we've got appointments, referrals, and seminars. Okay, so a lot of these things are great metrics that are above and beyond revenue. And so these are the things where the bullet point business plan can help you. And again, there's lots of different things here that it says there's weekly things to measure, like calls made, appointments held, apps submitted. You can measure households that you want to increase every month. Lots of different things, but get clear, at least have 3 other than revenue. Have 3 metrics and see how it goes. And again, the more intentional we can be, the more strategic we can be. And so again, they're quarterly metrics. One thing that I find advisors don't do is they don't take time out to look. They're always in their business. They don't take time to work on their business. Even if you can take 30 minutes a month, that's better than nothing. And then quarterly, give yourself half a day. Go get an offsite or put yourself in the conference room and say, don't bother me. And really take a look at what's going on. Are things on track? Maybe something came up that you didn't expect for, all these different things. Take a minute to reflect so that the first time you're looking at the business plan isn't at the end of the year to go, oh, did I make it? We want to make sure that this can be an empowering thing and it's not a punishment thing. It can really be empowering and help you. It can also help the value of your business. When a buyer comes to look and says, do you have a business plan? And you're like, no, I just kind of wing it. That's kind of scary. So understanding that can also be helpful to know that you have a business plan and that you've been strategic about building your business can also be great and important in the valuation part. So here, another thing, let's look at, it's not just revenue, it's also, do you have the right staff in place? Do you have enough support? If you're doing the assistance work, that's $20 to $50 an hour work. And what is your hourly rate? Your hourly rate should be way higher, especially if you're in your batter's box doing what you should do, talking to clients and closing deals and opening appointments. And so being really clear about what you touch, this is where the business plan can also be, do you have the right staffing? Do you need an assistant? Do we need to add a service consultant? These are things that are really clear. And then all that takes money. So understanding where that money is going to come from can also come from your business plan and understanding, okay, we need to do 10% additionally so we can afford a new assistant or whatever it is. And so again, doing the business plan, yes, it takes work. Yes, it takes some time. But I've also given you, it's much easier to do a 5-page bullet point plan than it is to do the 70-page plan. The goal here is not to have a beautiful 70-page plan that goes in a drawer. What I want you to do is have, even today, if you just spend 30 minutes thinking about your business and about how you can be more intentional, that's really what this whole exercise is all about. Maureen?
Kari, we have a great question that just came in is, if you're flying solo, one person show, how do you build the daily activities based on annual goals?
So, well, you have to think about what do you want to create, right? And if there's just one of you, at a certain point, you will reach that level of complexity with just you. If you're the one who's making all the appointments and calling and following up and doing all the changing the benefactors and all that, there is going to come a point where you're going to kind of hit that ceiling. And so this is something that is hard to hear for a lot of solopreneurs, but I'm going to tell you right now, the best investment you will ever make is an assistant. And I'll tell you that because I did it. It was scary. I was scared to have another person have their livelihood based on me. But my business doubled the first year when I got an assistant because it freed me up to do the things that I should be doing and that can grow my business, not just working in my business. I could grow it. And guess what? The second and the third year, my business also doubled because I got better at doing it. I created systems and I was able again to stay in my lane doing revenue generating facing work. And so what you have to do is get clear on what do you need to focus on? What do you need to move the needle? And if you look at your week and you work 40 hours a week, and we all probably work a little bit more than that, you need to be spending at least half your time revenue, client facing, revenue generating. If you can't do that, it's time to get some help. And either that's outsource it. If you get a virtual assistant, it doesn't always have to be full time. You can start with 10 hours a week. What would you do with 10 hours back? Think about it. Like that in itself. So if you want to try it out and just get used to that, getting that delegated, the first thing is getting somebody to handle your calls and schedule appointments, getting that off your list, and then answering small customer questions. That is going to give you more capacity to go do what you need to be doing, which is going and calling on your A clients and getting new clients and being out there and servicing your clients and bringing value to them and growing your practice, not handling service issues. Or, oh no, I sent that illustration out and I didn't follow up in 2 weeks. Oops, there goes a prospect. So again, part of your plan should be investing in your support. And again, whether that's someone, virtual 10 hours or someone in your brick and mortar, 40 hours a week, whatever it is, be really intentional about and understanding what you need to get off your plate that's not your highest and best use so that you can be focused on what you need to be doing highest and best use. Let's see. I love that. Someone said they're looking at bringing on a business development director. That's amazing. And you know what that's going to do? Again, that's going to make you more intentional. They're going to be measuring it. And so I would be it'd be very important to build the KPIs, which is key performance indicators. That means what are they going to be measured on? What does success look like for that business development director or that assistant? Okay, so making sure that you have a clear job description and understand what does success look like for them. How are they going to be measured? What are the 3 things you're going to be looking at them? Are they mastering? Are they doing this? Are they giving me back capacity? And so being very clear on that. Again, that's part of your business plan is understanding where you need to focus and where you need to improve. And sometimes it's not revenue. Sometimes it's process. Again, remember the 8 pillars? Sometimes it's people. Do you have the right people in the right seats doing the right job in the right way? Hiring is hard and making a bad hire is expensive. And so taking the time to do that. Again, process, CRM. I know it's a pain, especially for people like me that I'm not a great follow through person. That's why I have an assistant. But understanding that, even if you can put the basic things in CRM, then you can pull reports and that allows you to do more and to have more critical information to make better choices and decisions. So yeah, sometimes it's time and peace of mind. Absolutely. And so this is a hard business, especially if you're by yourself. It's very isolating. And that's the cool thing about DMI. I mean, the great thing is like, how cool is it that Tyrell is there to help, right? And so like, I don't have that. Lean into your VP of sales, and they can walk through this structure with you. And you don't have to do it in a day. I mean, focus on your ideal clients first. Brainstorm, get your team in, get them to whiteboard it on Monday morning meetings, whatever it is, the more intentional you can be. Again, This is your baby. This is your business. And if you want, you can either be a salesperson or a business owner. Business owners have business plans. So, are both of you are on? Does that mean I'm done?
I'm on. I just wanted we're getting close to the end of this webinar, and Kari, this was fantastic information. I wanted to remind everyone that's here today to feel free to reach out to Tyrell. His QR code is right there on the screen. And that is all of his information. You can book a 15-minute strategy call with him, find out more about this business plan. In the follow-up email that you will be getting next week, I will include those 8 pillars so that people have a better idea of what the offer is from Kari and how DMI likes to partner with our Partner's Advantage, which I know Glenn will summarize. And then if you want to contact Tyrell and for whatever reason you can't get that QR to work, go in the chat, and at the very top, one of the first things I did was put in Tyrell's phone number, email, and his Calendly.
Well,
So,
I want Tyrell to speak here for a second, but I did want to request something from the group. So I'd be very interested in what you guys would like to hear from Kari about in the future. So I know we were just talking about, somebody was asking about the 8 pillars. Is it okay if I pull this up, Kari, real
Sure,
quick?
absolutely.
I just want people to look at this again and let me know, what are you interested in? Is it people? Is it processes, positioning, pipeline, performance, planning? Um, what's the pillar you're interested in? Or make up your own issue. What's your problem? Um, let me know in the chat. I'd be very interested to know. But with that being said, Tyrell, I want to turn it back to you. I know you've got some thoughts.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to first say, if any of you have questions around the business plan, one, I'd say sometimes looking at if you haven't set up a business plan, it can be really overwhelming and daunting to think I have to put this whole business plan together. One thing that Kari has mentioned multiple times that I've heard her say over the time we've been working with her, is your intentionality, being intentional about something. And that really, honestly, if I had one word that would sum up what my family did, it was we became intentional. And I loved that word. I was like, that's my new word for business planning. And so for me, I'd say to see some impact, it can be grab one thing that you like that Kari said and let's implement it. And if you want some help and some ideas around how to do it or how DMI can help you to leverage that or to implement something into your practice, where you say, right now, I can't do the whole plan, but I'm going to take a few minutes and come up with one idea to start implementing and be intentional in that area. Call me. Let's have a chat about it. I'd love to take 15 minutes and talk with you about it and maybe give you some suggestions or ideas how to implement it. And then also how you can leverage DMI or me as resources to help you with that. So, maybe it's you want better COIs. Great. I've got some ways to help you get in front of maybe some better COIs or how to go after some through maybe some different planning strategies that I can help you with. So I'd say if going, full steam and creating an entire, new business plan is too much, pick one item and let's start there. Start somewhere. It's better than not doing anything.
The starting is usually what stops people. And so I want to leave you guys with this one thing. Guess what? If nothing changes, guess what? Nothing changes. And if nothing changes, then you are choosing that. So be careful what you're choosing and be intentional about what you want to change. And if there, I would love to hear what is one thing that as a result of this call, you're going to be more intentional about, or you're going to take a closer look at. I would love to know that. That would help me to understand what resonated on the call today. And so is it, maybe looking at your people? Like, do you have the right people in place? Do you have the right processes? Again, are you in the right markets? Are there some markets you're missing because you don't have time to service the ones you have right now? And so, okay, so Brian says processes. And so that's where you kind of lean in first. You don't have to do it all at the same time. But again, being more intentional about, okay, let's just take a look. What is our client journey? Like, what happens when someone walks in the door? Who talks to them? Whose job is that? How do we follow up after the first meeting? How do we follow up after the fifth meeting? These are things where if you just get a little bit more intentional and map it out And you know what? Clarity is kindness for your clients and your staff and your team or yourself. Just knowing, okay, I've got a checklist of these 5 things that get, that's going to keep me on track. That helps us when we're at midnight going, oh my gosh, did I follow up with the Joneses? Really processes are our way of getting control. And so understanding it can be hard if it's just you. I get it. And so why wouldn't we take a look at how to work smarter, not harder? And the things that you say no to are way more important than the ones you say yes to, because what you say no to allows you to say yes to the right things. And then when you make better choices, you have more choices. And so understanding that doing this process, taking the time to reflect on your business, I mean, this is probably one of the, you and your business are the most important project you will ever work on. And so take time to work on it, not just in it. And again, you've got an amazing team with DMI here to help you. So thank you, Tyrell and Glenn and Maureen, so much for having me today. I'd love to come back and hopefully this was helpful, and let us know your feedback.
Hey, it's our pleasure and our honor, Kari, because speaking of intentionality, DMI intentionally reached out to Kari to become a partner of ours, right? And Kari's actually been providing train the trainer sessions to the sales team. So just want you to be aware that your VP of sales has been going through that training on the business plan. So, and I think in my mind, Tyrell has been one of the more active VPs in terms of just really absorbing it and taking it in because of his background. I think he's really good at putting those together. So please reach out to him with any questions you've got. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to pull up his contact information directly. But yeah, so one, I think Tyrell is a great resource, and then two, I want you to know Kari will be coming back because I can't imagine not doing more of these, and that's why I'm asking you guys about what you're really interested in, because we can drill down on all these pillars. There's other topics that we can focus in on too, and we want you guys to get the most out of this. So,
Can I say one more thing real quick, Glenn?
yeah,
I want to make an offer to everybody out there. I know this is something, whether you work with a VP here already at DMI or whether you don't. One of the things I always talk with all of my reps about is leveraging DMI. We have a lot of resources, a lot of things we can do to help you leverage. One of the things I could give an hour-long presentation on using things, funny things my dad always used to say, but he always used to say, we started something, we implemented something, it worked so well that we stopped doing it. And that's so funny because it's so true. So one of the things I say is if you say, hey, I want to be intentional about something, I want to start a business plan, or I want to change what I'm doing, you need to continue and have that consistency. One way you can leverage us here at DMI, and I offer this to all my reps or anybody out there, if you need somebody to help you be accountable, let that be us. We can set up meetings. I have, weekly meetings that I've set up that are just check-ins with my reps to say, how are we doing on this? Did you do well? What do you need? What can DMI do to help you if you're finding hurdles or roadblocks? How can we help you overcome that with process? Sometimes there's things that we can just do to help implement a process. So know that we are a resource to you and that we can be here. If I'm your VP or if you have a different, somebody else here that's your VP, I know all of them would be happy to do that with you and help you because we're really here to help you grow. And we understand that sometimes if it's just you or you an assistant, sometimes it's hard to have somebody to be accountable to. And let us be that person. Let us do that because we're going to help you implement things that are going to work so well. We don't want you to stop doing them. We want you to continue and be consistent. So let us help you be that.
Well, thank you everyone for your time and attention today. This is always it's so fun to talk to advisors and really hear from them what they're needing. And I look forward to partnering with DMI and DMI University in the future. So thanks again for having me.
thanks, Kari. Tyrell, thank you. Maureen, appreciate it. And everybody that joined today, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we will see you again soon. Ciao, everybody.